PhD research scholar. For those of you who are here for the first time, NPPA stands for National Positive Psychology Association, which aims to explore positive psychology constructs globally and nationally with respect to teaching and research. You could check out our website page and also become a member of the Positive Psychology Association. The link will be shared here in some time. As you already know, our session today is on resilience, which I think we would collectively agree has become all the more real and relevant for each of us these days. We are in such unique times, considering the amount of valuable lessons and experiences which we gained from what almost all of us might have gone through over the past year. To speak on this topic and further broaden our understanding on resilience as a personal asset, we have someone who is very experienced and an all rounder in the field of counseling and positive psychology, Mrs. Saloni Priya. We welcome you, ma'am. She is the founder director of Umid Counseling and Consultancy Services, a multi specialty, uh, sorry, a multi specialty positive psychology institution, a platform with countrywide outreach. MAM has been a versatile part in psychotherapy through individual sessions, workshops, and training sessions. With more than 24 years of practicing as a counseling psychologist, she has spearheaded hundreds of interventions to enable youth and children in secondary and higher education and has empowered education leaders and instructors from CBSE, ICSE, and several state boards reaching out to 18 states of India and several countries, especially in Middle East. Presently, she is a consultant training at CCRT, New Delhi, spearheading designing innovations in training modules for government school educators. Uh, I could go on and on because there is so much more that she has contributed to this field, but there isn't much time. Without any more delay, I would now like to hand over the session to our honorable speaker. We're extremely delighted and honored to have you here today, ma'am. But before we begin, I have a few house rules that we need to take care of for a smooth functioning of this session. Kindly keep yourself muted while the speaker carries on in the session. If you have any questions for the speaker, please use the chat feature in this MS Teams webinar. The questions will be taken in the end during the Q&A session. You could also use the raise hand feature, but only during the Q&A session, and you will be given a chance to speak. Important to note, all our webinar sessions are recorded and uploaded on our YouTube channel. So please don't worry if you're not able to attend the previous sessions or not able to take notes. You can always go back and check out our channel. The link will be shared here too. Lastly, if you have any technical issue, please reach out to us on our NPPA mail ID. One of us will address it and try to resolve it for you. So this is it. Over to you, ma'am. Welcome to this session.
Thank you so much, Sneha. A very, very good morning to everyone. My regards and respect to all the members of National Positive Psychology Association, and a very good morning to Kamlesh ma'am. A very, very relevant platform for all of us to be here together to discuss about resilience. Most of the time, when we talk resilience, in the recent, I would say, past, there has been a lot of understanding of basic tenets which allow people to deal with worst of their life situations. That is where the concept of resilience has become very prominent, and we all, in our own way, while we are dealing with everyday life situation, we have our own models of resilience. So let us brainstorm here a little bit. If you look at the variety of words that have been correlated to resilience, this is the kind of spectrum you would see. Something as basic as what is a person's personal strength, what are the indicators of your success, how do you make an effort, and what is your threshold when you will give up making effort, how do you hang on to your faith and belief system, how do you have a vision which propels you to handle the obstacles which you have today, crisis to challenge. The paradigm of resilience is really very, very vast. And the word resilience comes from the Latin word resilio, which means to bounce back. Sometimes it has also been found in literature on resilience to retaliate. However, on the positive psychology framework, when resilience is being used as a skill, it is now, after empathy, the second highest rated skill and tenet for leadership. So, the Millennium Leadership models now focus a lot on resilience as a very necessary skill set. And I think the research very clearly shows that earlier there was more focus on problem solving, creative thinking, analytical reasoning. Today, with artificial intelligence being the vogue, people have gone back to some of the more humane, more complex, more deep rooted aspects where the cognitive functions of human mind, along with our emotional skills, have given rise to a mindset which allows you to deal with extremely difficult situations where you don't have an earlier pattern that this is what I will do. You are able to create a pattern and deal with difficulties, obstructions, challenges, crisis, trauma. That is where resilience became a very important skill set. The good part about positive psychology is we always focus on what we can do. And that is where, resilience is a very core concept, which is touching on self-belief. It is very, very deeply rooted in your sense of self-compassion and your enhanced cognition of your emotions and your abilities. I'm quoting here on the screen Marano. A lot of work has been done by him, and it is the way through which we empower ourselves to perceive adversities as temporary and keep evolving through the pain and suffering. So you can see that evolving and empowering, these were the concepts from positive psychology which were used to define resilience. And a lot of work on resilience you will find emerged after the Holocaust. The victims of the Holocaust, the World War, very recently, even a lot of work has been done with survivors of sexual abuse. And resilience has been used as a part of the therapy to enable people and empower them to get back to life. I also have done a lot of work in the field of child abuse, and that is why I also did a lot of work on using resilience in a very, very basic form with children, developing resilience as a skill in children. Let me show you a very, very short video here, a video which will allow you to see that how dolls have been used here to show the concept of resilience to very young children. Because what happens, na, Sneha, the moment we talk resilience, a lot of people think that resilience has to do with adults because it is a very adult concept. So let me share this video. Sneha, is the video visible to everyone on your screens?
Yes, it is visible.
Let's watch this together, friends, to understand resilience from a larger spectrum of teaching is as a skill.
Morning, everyone! Who does it look like?
It looks like me.
That's right. I want you to do everything that you can to knock your toy down. Who is the strongest in class? Jeron, come on up, please. I'm going to give Jeron a prop, and he's going to try to knock it off the table. Ready, Jeron? Okay, children, who can tell me what it means to have resilience? Yes, Paige?
Resilience means if you make the toy fall down, it'll come back up very, very fast.
Very nice.
Let us teach our children to get up more times than they fall. Anybody would like to share something? What did you see in this video? And how do we see it as a positive psychology framework with masses? To share with all my friends here on this platform, I've been using something very similar, helping not only children who have been having learning difficulties or children with autism and finding themselves to be the odd one out. I've actually used it for training the school monitors, the class monitors, rather than they being bossy and being people who complain about other people. We talk to them that one of the skill which a monitor should have is resilience, your ability to stand up for right thing, your ability to help the people who need the most. So we brought in the concept of resilience for children, as the strong is not the one who hits others, but strong is the one who can keep coming back, and you cannot make that person give up. So these are the kind of very simple concepts which today, from the principles of resilience, are being experimented for building up not only a resilience mindset but also resilience as a skill.
Ma'am, you've been muted.
Am I audible now? Yeah. Sorry. So as I was sharing here, the concept of emotional regulation today is being used a lot with young children in schools for developing it as a skill set, developing it as a very necessary tool for enabling people to be able to deal with everyday life situation, not necessarily a huge crisis or a situation of pain and suffering as a Holocaust or a World War situation was. Pandemic, when there was so much of talk about mental health, taking care of your mental health, actually there was a very deep correlation understood by people, emotional quotient and social quotient. We are a society which has very heavily laid emphasis on IQ, but recently there has been much more understanding of EQ. Thanks to the work of Daniel Goleman, emotional intelligence and emotional quotient have started being seen as more an indicator of personal success. And that is why during pandemic, when we were emotionally feeling low, there was a lot of loneliness, disappointment, insecurities, anxiety, worry. So we all, as psychologists, practicing therapists, we were dealing with a lot of people with phobia, fear, anxiety, a lot of cases of depression, helplessness. You know, it gave me an opportunity to see that how in a very similar circumstance, a 65-year-old man living all by himself has bounced back to life and has become a kind of a mental health professional by his own readings and practicing yoga and mindfulness, and he comes out every day to give support and makes an effort to bring the whole community together. I've been working with these 27 elderly people, all of them are above 65, and they became a support group for a lot of young professionals living in Gurgaon, and they were constantly providing them support through telecounseling. And I won't use the word counseling here because most of them, they are businessmen, they are people who have retired from services, so they necessarily don't have any training in psychological counseling. But they had one very clear thing: you are feeling lonely. I know a lot of younger people, 30, 27, 34, they are losing a job, they have a lot of job insecurity, they have more responsibilities because children are young, they have a family to take care of. I can help by talking to the person how not to give up in this. And that's the time I saw the power of resilience. And that is where I saw that how social quotient, because one of the indicators of resilience is your ability to be able to maintain relationships, bounce back from setback, and again work on it. And that is where social quotient becomes very important. In all my mental health webinars, I have been speaking for the last more than a year. I must have done 500 plus webinars across, right from Tata Steel officials to school principals to Airtel managers to PWC workers, families, parents. Everywhere we have been able to help people to see that actually Corona was not about social distancing, it was physical distancing. The way we can come back wiser and stronger after this pandemic is, have we been able to keep our social quotients, our humane aspect alive? Have we been able to learn, adapt, and change? And that is why, friends, this is exactly the concept of emotional resilience. To understand it, you can divide resilience into three aspects: the physical aspect, which is your good health, it is vitality, energy, strength. So when we all are in the best of frame of mind, that is the day you get up in the morning and you feel it's a beautiful day, and you are up and about and you are flying off the stairs and your life has meaning and you want to do a lot of things. So physical elements are very, very basic. However, a very major impact of whether you were feeling that morning is good or not comes from psychological elements. So this is where your own self-esteem, your confidence, how you are aware of your own emotions and how you can handle it, self-expression, the words you use to speak, your thoughts. Many of us here, we have all learned cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, considered to be a mother of most therapies, which works a lot on our thinking, our awareness, our self-concept. All these, they are providing the psychosocial background of resilience. What is your resilience? And of course, the third very major component which can be developed, and I think today with the change in our social strata, most families having one child, schools having only 25 in a class to give individual attention, a lot of children with latchkey kids, the new concept of helicopter parenting, a lot of these phenomena are actually highlighting that the social element of resilience, which was taken for granted earlier and it was available in ample, now is becoming a scarce resource. Corona, it has been one of the major crises. And now most of the educational institutions, when there is a talk about new normal and coming back of schools, are very worried that how are they going to have children again talking and interacting with each other and sitting in a school and a classroom. Because interpersonal relationship, whether it is your colleague, your children, your family, your friends, community, club, your ability to conform to a group, follow some rules, extend cooperation, give chance to somebody, very basics. They are the social elements of resilience. And that is why a resilient lifestyle is what we all should focus on. Resilience is not just a mindset and it is not just a quality. It is actually very holistic, where from IQ, as we have moved to EQ, we need to now blend SQ, the social quotients, with CQ. Any idea what is CQ here? Anybody would like to respond? What is CQ here? Yes. If there is anything on the chat box, Sanya, Sneha, you could read it for me. What is CQ? Let's make a guess. I think somebody is saying something. Yes.
Someone is saying compassion.
Okay. That's a good
Dr.
response. Compassion is very important when it comes to developing resilience. CQ, to a very large extent, friends, is change quotient. Adapting. Resilience, persistence, bouncing back has to do a lot more. Communication, concept, clarity, all that is also there. But a very key component which we are looking at here in CQ is change quotient. My ability to change. And as much I can change with ease, my resilience is high. And that is why this developing resilience is a journey from being adaptable, aware, and accepting. The people who have been able to accept the most difficult circumstances were the people who were able to bounce back from it. Acceptance and change, the two continuums, are connected here in resilience. Let me share with you a very, very thought-provoking message on resilience. It is, let's hear that. Is the video visible to all?
Yes, ma'am. Does the video have audio on it?
Yes.
The audio is not. I'm not able to hear it.
You're not able to hear it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let me just try.
You know when there's nothing left to do but to fight?
Can you hear it now?
With everything you've got to get back up. There's a word for it. Resilience. And that word comes down to such a simple test. Not much involved. But in the moments that matter most, it's everything. You and a mirror, looking into your own eyes and realizing there's nowhere else to go but up. And being ready for what that takes. It's a single decision. The same decision you'll need to make every day. Get up. Get up. Get up. It's what brings people back when injury makes it look to everyone else that all is lost. But it's not. It's what gets someone to write letter after letter after letter, looking for a job because they know all they need is a start. It's what causes someone to keep moving straight forward even when the start of their journey should have knocked them off track. You and Amir, same decision every day. Because the thing is that comebacks mean the damage is already done. Comebacks only happen after things get hard. It happened, and only you know how dark it gets. Resilience and grit, these aren't pretty words. They mean something much more to those who know them well. These words have scars. They symbolize the battle, but they are also the gateway to something so special. It's what it means to lose 8 elections, be in bed for 6 months after a nervous breakdown, then to get up and do what it takes to enter the books of history. It's the power behind getting rejected 12 times before smashing almost every record and every ceiling imaginable. Resilience. That's the word left when the storms keep coming. When things go from bad to worse, every reason to stop trying. The moment we all get humbled by at some point. Sometimes more than once. There are times for dreams. And sometimes there is only time for the reality of now. Picking up one foot, then the other. Starting to move forward step by step. Tears and frustration, another step. Hurt and sadness, another step. Shaking off what was, you just keep going. It's the light that finally breaks after the darkest of nights. In the moment that matters. You and Amir. Same decision every day. Knowing it's going to be long. Knowing there is no other way. That is resilience.
Some very powerful words with much profound meaning. Grit, definitely. And looking through this video, I am sure it must have occurred to all of us that we all saw brilliant examples of resilience in the sports people in the Tokyo Olympics. Many of our own sports champs now, and many who were there from various countries. That is why many a time when I have been training teachers to act as counselors, I've been experimenting with this on the Umeed platform for last more than 10 years. I think there are more than now 3,000 plus educators across the country who have done a certificate course with Umeed on providing the basic first aid emotional kit. That's what I would call teachers as counselors to be. At least to be able to identify and provide a first aid of emotional resilience to children. And that is where I wanted to share that some of my most successful teacher counselors have been sports coaches. A teacher who was a sports coach and a librarian and sometimes a lab assistant, they have with their own personal qualities and learning and honestly able to look at various aspects of the child, not just through the prism of a subject, were able to bring back a lot of positive traits in children and motivate them to do better. I have experimented with a lot of underperformers and underachievers to be motivated by a lab assistant and a librarian and a sports coach. And it has been very, very successful. And that is why resilient lifestyle is resilience mindset. And we need to answer questions like these. So many of my case studies, I have asked this question. What are the factors that help some adults to bounce back, while others languish in feelings of helplessness and hopelessness? Same situation, same family, father an alcoholic, mother struggling, has become very bitter, trying to get 2 square meals on the table, 2 boys growing up in the same house, every day seeing domestic violence, abuse, all kinds of crises. How is it that one of them is today an army officer and the another one became a drug addict? When you look at those families and you look at the skill, A part of the environment was same, but how did the person, one of them, became a very, very productive, effective, a good human being and very proactive in society. This person today, as an army officer, runs and contributes to an NGO who are working towards helping children of alcoholic families. So, it is resilience which gave the concept that tragedy has a way of getting priorities in order. Tragedy has a way of getting priorities in order, and that is what is resilience. Sometimes it is in your worst circumstances you are able to find that pearl in the oyster, that this is what needs to be my purpose in life. What is the inner strength? Another very critical question to understand resilience in people. What is the inner strength that propels some people to overcome mighty obstacles in their path? What is that? Is it just a thought? Is it a situation? Is it genetic? Not much evidence to say that it is genetic, but yes. When you look at a Stephen Hawking, he is a living example of what resilience is. A very beautiful movie, I'm sure most of us have seen, Pursuit of Happiness, based on the real story. It is resilience. And that is why, to understand resilience, there are many of these factors which contribute to building a resilience mindset. Non-judgmental mind. I'm able to accept more rather than judging and declining or throwing away things. My own self-esteem is high. I value myself as a person and I'm aware of my own strengths and weaknesses. Like I talk to students and I always tell them, tell me what is your greatest strength. And the best answer is, if I know my weakness, that's my greatest strength. And what is your greatest weakness? Your greatest weakness is you don't know your own strengths. And that is something where positive coping strategies, they will only develop with this understanding. This is something which more so in Corona, we all, people who are from psychology background, we need to develop rather than only practicing and meeting people when they approach to be helped. We need to be coaching a lot of positive skills as a part of curriculum, as a part of life skill development programs in educational scenario, more so in higher education. So that when a person is taking a higher education degree and moves towards a working situation, the person goes along with degrees, these emotional skills. And the most critical one of them is resilience. Ability to have realistic expectations, emotional regulation. Maybe I have never heard a no from my father, but then when I go and work in a place, I need to be ready. And no does not mean I'm rejected. No does not mean it's a failure. Stronger relationships, flexibility, freedom. This is a little controversial. A lot of people, spiritual freedom is getting entangled with religious beliefs. Spiritual freedom here, in most of the resilience context, actually means your ability to be able to talk to your own inner self, your conscientious with freedom. That is what is spiritual freedom here. Taking it forward from here, friends, those of us who are applying resilience as a part of our therapy, you will find, and that's why I added these to, whenever we are looking at the inner world of a client, and when we are looking at resilience as our personality trait, my own inner world, the behavior iceberg. The iceberg model, that what you see as a tip of the iceberg is not even 1/10 of the real floating iceberg. For a lot of us, our inner strengths are like that hidden part of the iceberg. Generally, we use the word attitude for it, but actually, what we can see of the other person is their knowledge, their skills, what they do. That's the behavior. But The inner self is the values, the standards, the judgment. Like 90s, we were talking about knowledge management. Today, we are talking about ethical management. And what is ethics? It is your values, standards, your motives. What is your belief system? What do you believe and operate from? Because this is the inner world which can be seen in your self talk. And this is where we create resilience, the ability to hang on to my faith. A very simple thing, Satyameva Jayate. It is not only written on our national emblem, it is a belief system that end of the day, the truth wins. And that gives us energy to be able to hang on to truth. That is why, resilience is very deeply related to the values, the ethics, the standards which we operate from. And that is why, if you are wanting to work with clients, I've always felt that their deepest dilemma, a sense of guilt, a sense of remorse. Most of the time, when I have done work with teenagers and youth with suicidal tendencies, and most of the time I have counseled them after the first or sometimes the second attempt of wanting to end their life. That is the time I have practiced resilience, given them a lot of stories, videos, talked to them about motivating them to look at that they have strength to bounce back. And this is not. That is the time I have seen that as a therapist, we need to analyze the inner world. Do they have any of these resilience component there? Because the change is always going to be from inside out. It is not from outside in. That is why outside lecturing, telling does not help. But the principles of therapy based on listening, understanding, empathy, and building resilience helps. And that is why being a better you is all about stress hardening. Resilience is being used a lot nowadays to help people to handle stress. And the word which we are using there is stress hardy. Are you stress hardy or are you getting stressed out? And the idea is to tell them if you get stressed, it is anyway you are out. So if you remain in the arena, you have to remain in your working space. You will learn to handle stress. There is no such situation where you will not have stress. There is only one way to deal with stress is work on your own self so that you become stress hardy. The concept of stress hardy has been given by Robert Brooks. He is an Harvard Medical School professor with 25 years of work on resilience. I find his work very inspiring, very relatable. He has been creating a lot of these models which now are being used in US schools on training of teenagers, especially marginalized teenagers, teenagers who have been victim of violence, abuse, uh, even a lot of drug addicts. And he gave this concept of you are strong, and he used the word hardy. So you need to be stress hardy. I use that by saying when I started my own organization, why I called it Umeed, because Umeed was a symbol of hope and aspirations. Until you have a goal, till you have a hope, till you have something to aspire and look forward to, your ability to persist and your ability to dig in your heels and not give up is higher. That is what is building resilience in people, helping them to find somewhere deep inside them something which makes life more meaningful. And that is why when we need to work on our own resilience, work on your self-talk. We all know what we talk to ourselves creates our reality from which we function. Because this is what how makes us decide what we feel and how we act. Like it's raining time and I open the window in the morning and it has been raining. What is my self-talk? If the first thought to my mind and what I tell myself, even if I don't vocalize it for others to hear, if the thought is, Wow, it's raining. Look at the leaves, look at everything. It looks so clean and fresh and wet. I take my cup of tea and sit in the balcony and have tea. I enjoy rains. I open the window, it is raining. My self-talk is, now it has started raining. Everywhere there will be waterlogging. I will not be able to take out my car. This city is going to dogs. We anyway had so much problem. Now rain also had to happen. It is going to be a terrible day. A third person opens the window. It is raining. It is monsoon. It is raining. The person's thought is, we have been having a tough year, but at least rains are on time. Let's have a good monsoon. Let's have good harvest. At least in spite of pandemic, there has not been any shortage of food. So it is a blessing that we are having good monsoon rains. And the fourth person opening the window looks at the rain and says, आज ही बारिश होनी थी, आज ही मुझे बैंक जाना है, इतना सारा काम लाइंड अप था, अब ये बारिश हो गई, मेरी तो किस्मत ही खराब. I think I've been able to get the point across. And you know what is most important here is, neither can we call rains nor can we stop rains. The only thing we can do is, how do we respond to it? And that self-talk is your greatest indicator. That is why when we are working on resilience mindset, developing it, we work on the negative scripts which people have. Now, if I open the window and I say that it is my bad luck, today I had to go out, it was such a necessary work at the bank and it had to rain. I knew it always happens with me like this. Will you have resilience? You will be a person with reactivity. You will be a person who gets easily angry, stressed out, fatigued, burnout, all these things which we keep hearing about. That is why, friends, like thermometer gives us the temperature of our body, our self-talk is a very good indicator of our inner self. What is the temperature inside? And this is where resilience can be a very, very good tool even for therapists. Resilience through self-awareness. You could do a simple exercise like this. What are the 5 things which generally create stress in you? Like when I was doing for it, one of the first which came to my mind, that if I plan something at a particular time and it gets delayed, it really makes me anxious, and then I start getting agitated and irritated, and then I get into a blame game that why it has happened. So the moment I was able to have that awareness that this is something which creates stress, what made this happen, how I reacted to it, this is a very, very simple exercise of resilience for all of us. You can actually use this when you are helping your clients. You can actually use it to get out of a very bad day and a bad mood. You can actually do it with a person with whom you want to build a better relationship. That, okay, 2 of us had a fight. I think we fundamentally need to develop better communication. So let us understand what made both of us get angry. So what made this happen for both of you? If you write, what was the behavior? If you could write that, yes, I slammed the door and I stormed out of the room, whatever your behavior has been. I had clenched face and I stopped talking. A lot of this would be very, very useful. So resilience through self-awareness is the key to developing a better mindset of resilience. The second way of looking at it is dealing and not denying. Like I was talking about change. Change will only happen when we accept. So the ABCD of developing resilience actually is, you first have to accept. B is, you will have to be aware of what you exactly do. C is, be ready to change. And it will all happen when you deal with things and not deny. Because we all know most of our mental health problems, they start with denial. When there is a disconnect and denial of reality, we will start moving into the gray zones. And that is why changing our negative script, The first step to bringing resilience is whenever I look at a situation and I blame somebody else, I become negative, I feel that the others have a problem, I am in a bad situation, start changing that script. Today's session is too short for me to give you the steps of that, but yes, a good way of doing it is make a proactive choice. Now I get up in the morning and I get very irritated because my children, their lifestyle is such, they will keep watching Netflix till 1:30 in the night and nobody wants to get up even at 8 o'clock. Now every day I get up, I do my bit of daily chores and then I make breakfast, and from 9 o'clock I start getting irritated that children have not got up, and they know I also have work. Online work starts at 9:30, but because of these children not getting up, I cannot put things in order. Now I can keep feeling helpless about it, keep getting angry, make a nice breakfast, which everybody, especially my two children, feel that my God, she nags so much. Who told her to make a breakfast? We don't need breakfast. And after 2-3 days of major fight, where did we end up, Sneha? We ended up children saying we don't need breakfast, please don't make it. And all the emotional aspect that corona time, at least children were at home, I wanted to make good things, I really care for them, but nobody understands my feeling. Further, there is a huge spiral to it where a simple thing like this would lead to relationship conflicts, relationship bias. A boy of 26 years old finally thinking, good, I am going away after corona, my God, mother made my life hell, every day get up in the morning. Just look at it, the kind of problems we've created. A simple dealing method of this is make a proactive choice. And the proactive choice is I get up in the morning, I go for my walk, I do my yoga, I come back home only at 8:30. And then I am in a better frame of mind. I have taken care of my body. I am feeling much better. I come back, I sit with a cup of tea, and after that, I start planning for breakfast. And I speak to my children. They also know that they will be only disturbed at 9 o'clock, not before. 9 to 9:30, half an hour, we have a nice chat and some nice moments spent in the balcony to start the day. And then I move at 9:30 to carry on with my work. I've started my day well. As discussed with children, a part of breakfast is prepared. They all can have it from 10 to 10:30. I am happy with that 20 minutes of spending time with them. Is it a proactive choice? You know, it sounds very simple when we are talking, but people take 2 months not to figure this out, and every day the quarrel, the conflict, the issues keep spiraling. All of us have to believe I can change. And this is what I'm giving an example. Dealing is not denying a situation, accepting it, becoming aware of what are the other possibilities, and then believing I can change. So a little change in my schedule, a little change in my expectation, a little change in my approach to my childhood belief that children should get up early. I just needed to understand my children also got up early. They used to catch a 6:15 bus to go to school. And now my son, who is working with Goldman Sachs London office, his most of the work happens between 10 to 1 o'clock in the night. So just these factors helped me to accept change. And maybe I spent 3-4 beautiful months of dealing with my relationship with an adult child in my house during Corona. And the child also felt respected, had space, had freedom, could enjoy the happy togetherness and moments and not felt restricted. That is what is, and that's why I have put this picture here. Our mind has a lot of these behavior as patterns. Your artificial intelligence is totally based on microprocessors, which will actually have a codic program, just like the human mind programs and creates a pattern. This is what is called scripts. In this picture, look at this. This person is taking out the blue box and putting a new program there. That's what change is. Corona has made a lot of us aware. We just needed to change. Look at it, how much we have adapted. Now the new normal is scaring people because I don't want to go out every day. It was so much better. So, human beings change, and every time we resist change. That is why the concept in leadership and management, thinking out of the box, actually arises from this principle only. Could you change one of your scripts? Can I create a thought process and follow it with my actions, with belief, and my emotions are I'm doing the right thing and it's okay for me? Ultimately, what do I want at the breakfast table? I wanted 15 minutes of good talk with my children, seeing them happy, and then I wanted to start my day. They have been away from home for the last 6-7 years. Since they did their 12, they are not here. So if I can come down to this is what my focus is. So I can do it this way only now, and I was able to change. That is what is dealing with things, and resilience develops with these. More you are able to make these choices. Just a checklist for all of us to look at it. If my thought is this shall never pass, मेरा लड़का सुधर ही नहीं सकता है, I know my daughter will never agree to me. I see so many of clients speaking like this. Ma'am, I have come to ask you help, but I know nothing can be done. My daughter is like that. From childhood, she is stubborn. Alternative positive thoughts is, I have seen worse pass. The Stephen Covey, he has made this very popular. Tough times pass, tough people remain. These are, very good scripts for us. A lot of your quotations, they're actually positive scripts. That's why we keep up some quotations on our notice boards, on our rooms, in our tables. I'm losing my hold on life. Very, very disabling thought. Enabling thought is, I can get back the control. I need to relook at things. I need to change the way I am perceiving things. I won't be able to adjust here. Oh my God. Let me try by making a few friends. Gradually, maybe I'll be able to adjust. Better to stay quiet. It is worth giving a try. Very simple enabling thoughts. And that is why when we are building resilience, the concept of negative scripts being removed and we putting up a positively worded statement. This is not about denying things. This is not cajoling or passing away. It is basically redefining something, not exaggerated emotions of it is impossible, but looking at this much is possible, let me do this much. Taking small steps. And that is why the emotionally resilient person, these are some of the traits. As you would see, many of them, if you go by what we had seen as WHO mental health indicators, the resilience quality actually are, most of it are mental health indicators. Understanding, willing to adapt, is high on forgiveness and acceptance, focuses on finding solution, believes in sorting out conflicts, is not ashamed to ask for help, is able to create and sustain long-term relationship, does not bottle up negative emotions. A whole lot of these are what an emotionally resilient person is able to do. This is a picture which I have used a lot for people when I have trained them that, okay, let us find a balance, what is important. It is a fine balance that can be developed between the emotions and the way individual let them affect their lives. Relaxing, some of the techniques which have been very, very effective for people for resilience are these. I'm showing you a few of them here, but helping people to strike a balance is extremely important. We all have been hearing about E. Seligman's work, a very celebrated psychologist in the field of positive psychology. His concept of learned optimism, it is totally based on resilience. The learned optimism is a concept of that you don't give up of anything because you have a larger belief in that there is something positive at the end of this entire dark tunnel. There is a light. A lot of videos of e-Seligman can be used. Any one of us who feels stressed out, you feel upset, you feel things are totally wrong with me. Working on learned optimism is very, very important. It's an extremely good investment for future. I think in the corona time when people realize that a lot of medical facilities being next to one of the best hospitals, having all the money also could not get you an oxygen cylinder or a bed, made a lot of people get very shaken up that exactly what is it which can give us safety. Most of us, we thought having a lot of money and maybe access to some people in power would give us safety. That was challenged a lot during pandemic. And that is why constructive silence, savoring, being in the moment, not jumping ahead, not going in the back, enjoying that morning breeze, going for a walk and for that moment, for the 5 minutes, just being with the nature. These are some of the practices which if we can bring in as a part of our lifestyle, you will develop resilience. Savoring is, I am enjoying. Savoring is basically sensitizing all your senses. So listening to the chirping, feeling the smell of the flower or the leaf, smell of the wet soil under my feet when I am walking, just sitting in a balcony and listening to the drops falling as a pit patter on the thin surface, seeing a flower blossoming. Oh, yesterday it was a bud, today it is a flower. Any of these things, try and make it a habit of doing this for 5 minutes every day. It is going to build in much higher resilience. And a very good thing to do during those moments, early morning, before you go to the bed in the night, having a meal. If you see, many of the religious practices actually had this of gratitude. Things I have that many people don't. If we can have a weekly thing, this is an exercise which I have done with a lot of clients who feel I don't have anything left in my life. I have lost everything after a huge financial crisis, losing a career, being dropped from a school team, not being selected for a job where you had high hopes, you had every qualification. In such periods, resilience through gratitude has been very therapeutic. People feel very healed writing those kind of things. I am grateful to my family because I'm grateful to my father, because a note to your own self, what do you want to thank today? Today is 13th of August 2021. Can you think of one thing you would like to thank today? So some very simple such techniques can build up resilience. If anybody here who's attending this session wants, let Sneha know. I'll be happy to share these slides and you can make them as worksheets and you can even put it on your laptops and keep working on it. It is very, very useful. Of any point of time, if you want to use it with a client, before that, do it for yourself. Once you have done it for yourself, you have seen the impact of it, your ability to do it with clarity and conviction with anybody else would be much higher. So do let me know, Sneha, if there is anybody who needs it. I'll be happy to share all these 3 checklists of building resilience. I have been a very firm believer of finding coping strategies and healing with nature. So you can see me any point of time having a drive and stopping by and getting down into the field and plucking some flowers and taking some pictures. I think that is how so many years I have managed to travel extensively for my work and enjoy by snatching these moments to be with nature. Colorado State University, they released a study that suggests sounds of nature can help improve mental health. Researchers analyzed recordings of over 60 national parks and found that nature sounds can help with decreasing pain, lowering stress, improving mood, and enhancing cognitive functions. So during Corona, when all my travel was stopped for obvious reasons, I have made my own small nature garden, collecting pots, gardening, and yes, today I have more than 200 pots and a very, very beautiful time of my day is when I spend time with my plants, even nurturing them, talking to them, watering them. It has been very, very therapeutic. So if Umeed was about growing people, I think replacing it during this time when I was not so much with people and my audience, growing plants gave me a very similar emotional regulation. So just shared it. We all need to find our own small spaces of things which are going to give us happy emotions. Resilience was that. Because if you know the work of Dr. Viktor Franklin, he was the very famous Holocaust survivor. He's an Austrian psychiatrist. And after his experience of Holocaust, he developed this therapy. At one point of time, this therapy was very popular in Europe. And the therapy was called logotherapy. Another name for logo is actually meaning. So his therapy was primarily based on helping people to get over stress, get over their current circumstances by allowing them to have a higher meaning. And his literature of this therapy was totally based on this concept that when I was in Holocaust, I realized that with such difficult, distressing situation all around, if I had some meaning, if I could visualize that 5 years from now, I will be writing a book and I am going to document each and everything which I am seeing here so that humanity learns from it that this should not happen. And those of you, I've always felt that we should actually take children and youth not only to a whole lot of these foreign destinations of natural beauty and uh, uh, 24 by 7 shopping. We should actually take them to Germany. The Dachau camp near Munich, the sculpture there is really something which made me feel. And what is written over there in the languages of the 9 countries is never again. It is only 2 words. And that is where the first time I had read about Dr. Viktor Franklin, because he was during Holocaust in Dachau camp. And that is where he made this purpose. His meaning became, I'm going to survive because I'm going to document and write each and everything which I have seen here. And his message was that this is the greatest learning for humans, that this should never again happen ever in the history of humankind. So, not only what I saw and work of Dr. Viktor Franklin, even our own freedom fighters with 15th August just around the corner, I think it again was when you have a larger meaning and you commit to it, your body can actually bear pain which is unbearable. And that is why resilience has made people see giving purpose to your own pain. You can follow up the work of Dr. Julius Siegel. Dr. Julius Siegel has again done a lot of work with college violence, bullying, racial violence in New York. And Dr. Julius lost her own son to this kind of a violence and bullying. And this is what his writing shows on resilience. I am quoting him, giving purpose to your own pain. And that is why, friends, I put here on the screen for all of us to see. Mindful people, they bounce back and cope better. And what is mindful? Just these 2 pictures. Is my mind full of clutter? There are so many things. Or am I mindful? I am noticing what is there in reality and I am not carrying too much of my baggage. That story, no? That if you're carrying a bag of potatoes, over a period of time, the potatoes are rotten and it is a heavy burden and stink which you are bearing. There was no need, you could have just thrown it. The concept of resilience is very closely related to mindful, not a mind full of so many things, because that's where you get into stress, anxiety, reaction, cannot take it anymore. So then resilience will not be there. I know how to keep my mind clear and I always have space to be able to do something more. That is why I love sometimes when you ask a person, "Sir, are you busy? I needed 2 minutes." The person smiled and said, "I am busy, Saloni, but 2 minutes is not much to ask for. I am sure I can find time for that." Much later, I realized that actually this person is a teacher of resilience. He has this self image that I can take more. So, whether it is his age, whether it is his ailment, whether it is his thick lens, very high power, all that is immaterial, because what is his mindset? Mindset is resilience. I can take more, I can do more, I still have time. And sometimes when I told this gentleman that no, if you are busy today, I can come tomorrow, he would smile and he said, "I am a very old man. I don't know how many more tomorrows I have left." And that was a beautiful way which I analyzed that he has this ability that he can actually never get upset. He's ready to take something more, do something more, always available. And in the reality that I'm old, I'm aging, my eyesight is going away, but I am today going to do as much I can. Checklist for all of us to see, are we investing every day on making ourselves resilient? Every age and stage of our life, resilience is one skill which can allow you to get more happiness. So if we were working on EQ and SQ, emotional regulations, I think the CQ is what we need to work on. And if you work on the change quotient, it leads to HQ. And HQ is happiness quotient. You will be able to understand, because resilience was the concept which made everybody realize that success and happiness are not necessarily two sides of the same coin. There are people who are very successful from the worldly parameters, but they are not happy. And there are people who are very content and happy, might not be seen as having everything. So resilience concept helps you to see self-awareness, persistence, emotional control, adaptable and flexible thinking, your ability to maintain relationships, self-esteem, being mindful and focused on the present. Your ability to live today is resilience. And that is why mental health professionals, psychologists, people in leadership abilities, people dealing with life situations, we should all strive to develop psychological resilience. It refers to the ability to mentally withstand or adapt to uncertainty, adversity, or challenges. I don't look at any challenge as a crisis, I look at it as something which is going to teach me something new. I have spoken a lot today on emotional resilience, adapting to stressful situations, and the most beautiful thing is giving purpose to your own pain. That is why in my journey, I have seen so many people in working in the field of learning problems, learning disabilities. Even I've seen people who have started NGOs, they are running beautiful programs on helping autistic children or children with mental retardation. Many a times I've seen the person behind this entire intervention is a person who himself or herself has a child who is mentally retarded or a child who has autism. So they are beautiful examples of how people have turned their experience of pain into a contribution to society. Rather than being unhappy, bitter, and angry that this society has been unfair to me, it is the people with resilience who come back to say that I have suffered this unbearable pain. Now rest of my life is dedicated that nobody else should feel this pain. So I'm going to work on abuse victims. I'm going to help families who have a child with mental retardation. I'm going to set up a facility where a family with a child with physical or a sexual abuse can be helped. And that is why pain is very, very strong emotion. Physical resilience, of course, is about stamina, strength. Physical resilience, a lot of workout and a lot of exercising and being fit. Physical resilience is becoming higher. However, what we all need to aim is community resilience. How, as a community, as a group of people, they can come together. And I do hope that this wonderful platform of National Association, which is working on positive psychology, I wish we can all create a community of mental health professionals, community of psychologists who are committed to creating a resilient community. Recover from adverse situations, natural disasters, acts of violence, economic hardship. That is why, support groups have always been so helpful. A support group like Alcoholic Anonymous, they are so successful across the world because they are based on the principle of sharing, caring, expressing their life experience for others to learn from it, and again have that resilience that I'm going to bounce back. I am not hiding, I am accepting. So emotional resilience teaches us, whether we are people sitting in different offices or we become small windows on a laptop screen in a digital Zoom or a team conference, stressful situations place great burdens on everyone. However, with some creativity, we can turn these burdens into boosts for your brain. That is what resilience is all about. I choose to create a new you. I'm able to address my resentment, guilt, fatigue, burnout, anger, anxiety. I believe in the power of mind and I believe that yes, I can change. I have to change the way I look at things. I have to change my thoughts. I can create some proactive choices and healthy lifestyle. And all that is going to create my new you. Definitely, I would like to put across, I do a lot of sessions for parents and I have been helping a lot of parents with very young children also, how you can communicate to them. I have been propagating it's okay to not be okay. During these situations which are unprecedented, a lot of us have found it very difficult to deal with it. So feeling low, losing interest, feeling worthless, having no concentration, even having depression or thoughts of death are very, very natural and very common. So when we are dealing with such people, teaching them resilience, talking to them about the stories is very, very important. As very beautifully put up by someone, this is not the year to get everything you want. This is the year to appreciate everything. These are based in the principles of resilience, bounce back, persist. Crises are going to bring out the best in us. We are going to learn a lot. So accept, appreciate. Acceptance is not giving in. Acceptance is not giving up, but accepting that yes, this is difficult. I was not prepared. Appreciation here is gratitude. Appreciate what you have. Allow yourself to experience new things. Don't be afraid. I've only done things like this. Fair enough. Allow yourself to explore, adapt, and act. I think these 5 ways can really help all of us to develop resilience in our given circumstances. And the most beautiful example of resilience is, when I saw this tree, the thought was, this was just a seed. A huge banyan tree also at one point of time was a seed. So everything starts very small. We need to help ourselves and everybody around us that resilience also, like a seed, an idea needs to be planted and then it will grow. So like a tree becomes very strong with the roots. Similarly, resilient skills can make a human being very strong because they take you deep, they ground you, they help you to become so much stronger because so it's a very, very relevant topic at this time, which I am so glad that NPPA took an opportunity to address this. So thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure. And I do hope that new normal calls for new habits and it is time for us to sow some seeds. Let us hope that we can sow some seeds of resilience and enjoy this resilience in us becoming a big tree as time takes. A very good book to read on the power of resilience. This is the work of Robert Brooks and Sam Goldstein. They talk about how you can develop balance, confidence, and personal strength in your life using the power of resilience. So those of you who want, both of them, they have their websites. You should read on it. Very simple techniques. They also give you a lot of checklists, lot of thoughts to ponder and keep writing. They recommend a lot of journal writing to be able to develop resilience. But yes, for all of us, the Umeed way is positive counseling integrates mind and heart, logic and emotions. We listen, we care, and we are always there. That is what resilience in positive psychology is all about. So over to you, Sneha. If anybody has questions on the chat box or if anybody wants to say something, I'll be more than happy to take those questions. We still have
Thank
10
you.
minutes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are really grateful to have you for this session today. I'm sure we all needed this timely reminder of our inner strength and change quotient, how we need to keep our negative scripts and self-talk on check. And I believe all of your practical insights and tips from your personal experience is going to remain with all of us and help us build a more meaningful life. Thank you again, ma'am. To all our dear guests, we have a feedback form and we would love to hear from you how you find our sessions and you can suggest us ways to make it even more better. We now move on to our Q&A sessions. It is a great opportunity that we have to have someone who is so experienced in counseling and training to address our questions today. So please use the chat box and you can raise your hand. You can use the raise hand option also if you wish to directly ask a question to our speaker. A lot of our guests are expressing their gratitude to be present in this session to have heard from you now. We don't have any questions as such now.
Sneha, there's a hand
We
raised,
have
muted Susha. So she can unmute herself and ask the question.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Usha ma'am, you can unmute yourself.
Very nice program as usual. The session was really very good. And today I was going through a very difficult time about, contacting some very VVIPs concerning a program in the disability sector. And the work was given to me and the list of names, and they were really big names. But something was working inside me and it was telling me, go, do it, even if you don't know it. This is what you said just now. And I was so happy because today I was able to talk to some of the very difficult choice person that were given to me to talk to and convey what I had to. I think if we make up our mind and if we really believe in what we are saying and we are doing, then I think that itself pushes you to do the difficult tasks. As you were telling so beautifully, it just occurred to me, today I will do as much as I can. I have just done part of it because I wanted to attend your program. Up to I am full of more resilience and go ahead and talk to the rest of them. So it was so wonderful. And I'm sure the youngsters here must be learning a lot. I have learned a lot all over again. Thank you so much, Saloni ji. So beautiful.
Thank you so much, Usha ji, and I am glad. I think we all get our own moment of inspiration and greater insight when we are there together sharing and listening. And that is why these sharing are so very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with you.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madhulika, Dhriti, Dr. Akansha, Kirti. Thank you so much for your lovely feedback, what you had to say.
We have a guest. Sorry, we couldn't see your question. She has a query, Madhulika ma'am. She wants to know how we can be a part of the support group that you had mentioned.
Ma'am, you can write to us because most of the support groups which I create, I have created in the specific institutions and empowered them by training them. So if we have something happening where you could contribute, just send me an email. Sneha can share my email ID with all the members who are here. So you could write to us knowing your background and what you have been working with. I'll definitely like to see if I can put you with some of the support groups.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any questions? Any last query questions? Any kind of a feedback?
There is a very important question here, Dr. Balla, I think, that if somebody is depressed, gratitude would not come. You're absolutely right, sir. And that is why when we deal with depression, a person with depression, you will not be able to do resilience therapy with that person. A person will be depressed when the person does not have resilience at all. And that is why there is an absolutely different way of dealing with people with depression. Depression can have some neurological aspects also, can have environmental situational issues, and can have even psychosocial issues. So analyzing the triggers of depression, then we will have to go in for depression therapy. In depression, most of the time we work on relaxation techniques and all. After a person is able to come out of that depression, find some meaning, get into some engagements, then only you can do a resilience exercise with them. And I can see 2-3 people have posted here that they would like the checklist for themselves. So after this session, I'll be sharing it with Sneha, and I'm sure she will get it across to all of you. Shilpa has a question that webinar recordings can be accessed. I think, Sneha, you will be better to answer that.
Yes, ma'am. She's a part of our team, so she's just mentioning that these recordings will be there in our YouTube channel, and the slides that you mentioned will also be shared with our participants. Thank you so much, ma'am. Is there anything else that anybody wants to ask, or we'll just wrap up this session? Sure. Okay. So with this, we come to an end of our Q&A session. Thank you again so much, ma'am, for your time, for answering all our questions patiently, and for such an insightful session. I'm sure all of us are going back with some useful and practical lessons which we can imbibe in our lives to make it more meaningful. It has been wonderful having you here with us. On behalf of the NPPA team, I take this time to express our gratitude to everyone who tuned in today for this session. Thank you for patiently being here with us and for asking pertinent questions. We hope to have you for our next webinar sessions as well. Lastly, thank you to the people working behind the stage, our other team members, diligently working for the smooth functioning of these sessions, making it a fruitful experience for each of us. Thank you to one and all, wishing and hoping that all of us here relentlessly make it through all the obstacles that come our way in the future. That's it for today. Hope to see you all in our next webinars. Thank you.
Thank you, and all the best to NPPA.
Thank you.